absolute warm welcome to everybody. I just want to express my sincere gratitude for the Center for Spiritual Living, giving me a platform and a space to be my most authentic self. And I'm a working musician, and I do music lessons, and I'm really grateful for that, you know? But when I'm performing, I'm like Subra the entertainer. Or when I'm doing lessons, I'm Subra the mentor. You know, but when I come here, I really feel like I can be tenaciously myself. And I'm very grateful for that. And I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be in a room with present beings. How special it is to be in a room with present humans, right? It's priceless, isn't it? And it's I wish every room that we walked into had this feeling, you know? But this feeling we have right now is coming home. No? You know? And it's the same feeling I have when I'm in the forest alone. I mean, you know, there's present beings in the forest too. They're tree beings or squirrel beings, you know? But to be with present human beings is very precious, very special, and very meaningful. Now, Nancy, you said something that I thought was kind of funny and profound, but, you know, your, was it your nephew playing hide and seek? Grandson. Boy, does that just sum it all up. What is the spiritual journey and human experience other than us playing hide and seek with the divine? Am I right? You know? Yeah, you know? So I just thought that was kind of funny. And it resonates very much as true. I picked up this sticker while I was listening to all the announcements, and I like this message. I'm going to read it out. Nothing real can be threatened, and nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. Course in Miracles, right? And very much resonates. Well, I'd like to begin with some music. Now, I encourage everyone to put your tray tables in the upright and locked position as we begin climbing altitudes. So this whole experience, just, you know, let's be present together. So even the music, be present with the notes as they appear and disappear. What's happening behind me, the sound of the clock. You know, I just want to encourage everyone to acknowledge the consciousness that's in every moment. And this word acknowledge, I'm going to come back to. It's going to be part of the theme of today. Acknowledgement. This word really resonates with me deeply, because meditation, at least for me, isn't as much as an action that I'm doing as it feels like an acknowledgement of what's already here, what's already present, what's always present. There's a big difference. You know, when I was a young man, when other 20-year-olds were doing what 20-year-olds do, I was locked myself in a room meditating, 8 hours a day. And as a young man, one of my inquiries was, how is there a bottom to this ocean? It was almost an experiment. I would meditate and I would get to this very deep level, and then I'd feel like a submarine in consciousness, submerging. And then I would be like, okay, where is there a bottom to this ocean? Was there, and I discovered there is no bottom. But it was very fun to experientially feel that and see that. Now I feel like for at least for me in my journey, there was a very masculine approach to spirituality, which is just push, 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 right? I'm gonna do all this time and all this work, and like I'm going to the gym and I'm trying to be a bodybuilder of consciousness or something, and it's not sustainable. It's quite honestly, it felt great, but I wonder if it was more about chasing a high than anything else. I don't know if it's really that different from, someone just like, anyway. So it took me a long time and a lot of maturing to kind of make this shift from I am doing and I'm going to create this meditation space and I'm going to make myself super enlightened, and which is very different than just acknowledging what's already here. And what a relief. What a relief. We don't have to really do that much other than get out of the way. We don't have to create anything. We don't have to build anything. We don't have to, chisel. We're already there. We're all diamonds of consciousness. Inherent, intrinsic. It's the fabric of who and what we are. The idea that we can somehow create ourselves more than the way God created ourselves is kind of funny, but how we create is we create the illusions, we create the beliefs, we create the boundaries, we create the division, we create the us versus them, we create the resentment. That in my opinion, that's and the work is undoing what we've done to ourselves. But at the same time, there's such a relaxation that happens. I just want everyone to feel with me for a moment. Just relax into, like, you don't have to do anything other than just see what you've always been. Just acknowledge. But it's the same thing that when you're a little boy or a little girl and you're looking into the mirror, you're looking at your reflection in the water, just acknowledging that spark of consciousness is the same that's in you right now, looking at whatever you're looking or feeling at whatever you're feeling. It's the exact same thing. The spiritual journey is such a paradox, you know? We're on the journey of becoming that which we already are. But I hope you feel this relaxation, that maybe take some pressure off, you know? And the definition of stress is, I'm here, but I need to be there. But I'm here, but I need to be there. If our approach to spirituality is that, then we're stressing ourselves out unnecessarily. You know, I'm here, and where we need to be is here, and that's it. Acknowledging our thoughts, acknowledging our feelings, acknowledging the vast, endless ocean of consciousness that all of this is happening inside of. The more we acknowledge our humanity, the more our divinity shines through. That's one of my favorite things about Jesus. And one very unique thing about Jesus compared to other spiritual historical figures and prophets. Almost every single other one that comes to my mind, Buddha, Muhammad, you know, a lot of the greats in Buddhism and Hinduism, they're almost portrayed as 100% divinity. And there's not a lot of humanity there, you know? We put them on this pedestal. But Jesus is so special to me because his humanity is on raw display. And it doesn't take anything away from his divinity. You know? The guy's flipping tables. You know? He's a true rebel. You know? If he was alive today, I don't think people would like him very much. He'd be, you know, shaking trees down and such, you know? But our humanity doesn't take an iota away from our divinity. You know, it's perfectly natural to have emotions. It's perfectly natural to have reactions. It's perfectly natural to let life feel like it's squeezing you. It doesn't make you anything less. It's perfectly natural to feel depressed. You know, especially if you're angry and you're pushing that anger down, you know, that's definitely going to lead to depression. You know, the more we refuse to express our humanity, or the more we're ashamed of expressing our humanity, it's an obstacle to our divinity. In fact, bringing it back to Jesus, you know, looking at the symbolism of the cross, you know, there's a lot of ways to interpret that. But the way I choose to see is one dimension is the divinity and one dimension is the humanity. And the intersection of that cross, that perfect center. And that's the human experience. And that's the divine experience. Because for the moment, I mean, it is true, we're eternal beings, we're spirit, but we're also in these beautiful miracle flesh machines, you know, for the time being, you know, and we can't escape either reality, you know. They're both equally true, you know. And I feel it's all part of design. You know, if we were all, I mean, oneness is a primordial quality of this thing that we call reality. However, if one always stayed one, could one know itself? Right? You kind of have to split the one into many so the one can understand and experience itself in all these different dimensions and all these different ways and things. And quite frankly, that's the simplest way I could explain how I see this soup that we're in. You know? And so we're the one who split, became the many, so the one can understand itself and experience itself. So each of us is such a profound contribution to spirit and to life. And each experience is valid so much. And then let the many become the one is the other half, right? And that's the journey we're on. And even in this room right now, does anyone else feel a sense of oneness? I feel it. I'm definitely feeling it. Earlier, we were asked what was our word, for today, and the word that came up for me was instrument. And that's the best case scenario, is to be empty yourself and let a flow happen. Because then there's no above or below. We're all friends, We're all equals, 100%. The spirit in you sparks the same as the spirit in me, right? So for our time here today, I just want to encourage everyone to acknowledge the consciousness within you. That you are, not even within you, that's not even the correct language. The consciousness that you are. And that consciousness is the many flames soaring off of the one sun. And the deeper you connect with that consciousness, it's one step closer to home. I almost feel like I can swap God and home interchangeably. Does anyone else resonate with that? At least for me, deep down, it's like, that's where I came from. And that's where I'm going. But we don't have to leave these bodies to come home, do we? Right? We could be home right now. We are home right now. This oneness in the room that is home. I am in a room filled with Buddhists right now, is how I feel. Each and every one. Buddha, Buddha, Buddha. In my own spiritual journey, it's been quite wild. Quite convoluted. If I were to summarize the journey I've experienced, it would be from complicated and convoluted to simple and single-pointed. I was actually raised Jewish, in the Jewish tradition. And as a child, I had very deep moments in synagogue. Everyone's chanting Hebrew. I have no idea what it means. But there's something inside him. I just remember being like a child, like 6 or 7, and just connecting to something bigger than myself. I have strong memories of being a child and praying with tears in my eyes in my room alone, and just feeling the presence of God very intensely. And I always was yearning and searching for home. And family, actually, too. My college years, I was exploring Buddhism, Orthodox Judaism, And then I met a Hindu teacher who forever changed my life. He was the biggest anti-guru that you could ever ask for, and I'll explain this a little bit later. You know, but I was earnest, I was young, I was 22, I was ready to sell. I did actually sell all my instruments just so I could go to India and, you know, do these crazy elaborate, you know, programs, and it was $6,000, you know, 2009, I'm 22 years old, you know. But in my mind, I'm like, if I'm really going to get enlightened, I have to show God how dedicated I am, you know. And, you know, and I spent the next 6 years of my life in a Hindu cult without realizing it. Yep. Isn't that funny? However, I got a lot of good things out of it. However, the good things I got out of it were part of the Vedic tradition, have nothing to do with the teacher. The teacher was just passing on good information, time-tested things like yoga and meditation and all these things, and I was getting high off of all this. And then instead of being empowered by it, I was projecting on this teacher. Because of this great teacher, because of him, I'm being graced and all this. But boy, is it part of the human condition to put people on pedestals. If not in spirituality, we do it in celebrity culture, politician culture, you know. Humans were like kind of hardwired to put people on these pedestals, and they're above and we're below. And that was one of the biggest lessons I had to learn this lifetime. My soul had to learn to stop projecting on spiritual teachers. And that's what I mean by he was the greatest. He was a great guru in a very indirect way. I came to find out years later that, you know, he was abusing children sexually, you know, and all these terrible things, which was very difficult to process for me personally. But talk about dark night of the soul. I built my identity around this whole spiritual community. You know, even my name, Subra, was a spiritual name given to me, but it was Subramaniananda. So, and then once I left that whole thing, I went to college and my teachers called me Subra, and that stuck, you know. But it literally became my sense of self. And this community, this Hindu community, I didn't know who I was outside of that. So one day, before knowing any of the gnarly things that I just said, intuitively, I knew it was time to, I needed to know who I was outside of this community. I didn't find out what I found out years later, but my intuition was guiding me, and began a process, a dark night of the soul. And again, all the things that I did in the Hindu community, it was just so, I'm sorry, I don't mean to be yelling. It was so complicated, unnecessarily complicated. Every week it was a different this, a different that, you know, and in hindsight, I almost wonder if it was a strategic thing, because you keep people hooked. The more complicated you can make a spiritual path, you know, the better you can hook people. You lose people if you make it too easy, you know, too simple. But my whole journey was going from this convoluted, complicated labyrinth, and I ended up in, it's so simple, just acknowledging what you've always been and who you already are. The ego loves the complicated, you know, spiritual stuff. You know, it keeps the ego busy for sure. You know, and it creates a sense of accomplishment. Oh, now I know about the Shiva Sutras. Ooh, now I know about the Brahma Sutras. Ooh, now I know about Kabbalah. And, you know, it's an additive process of spirituality, which in my humble experience is the opposite direction. It's a totally natural human thing to want to add onto yourself, you know? And And that was my experience in my 20s. But what I've realized is that spirituality is truly a reductive process. Michelangelo said he didn't sculpt Michelangelo. He just removed everything that wasn't Michelangelo from the marble. Isn't that a fascinating way to look at it? Right? He wasn't sculpting Michelangelo. He was just removing everything that wasn't Michelangelo from this big block. And that is how I see spirituality. Slowly, we're removing our prejudice, removing our hatred from our hearts and our depressions and, not even removing isn't a loving word. I want to say resolving. That feels more loving. Resolving these things within us. And as we resolve them, we free them. And as we free them, we're 1 ounce lighter, spiritually speaking, Yes, we all want to lose weight in our physical form, but let's lose weight in our spiritual form, So it's this reductive process. And why is it? Because we're already that. Who am I? One of the greatest inquiries from the great Saint Ramana Maharishi. Who am I? What a valid contemplation. I am is the call, is the response. Now, if everyone just with a moment, just with me, I'm going to say, who am I? And we're all going to say, I am together and feel the I amness. All right? So, who am I? I am. You feel that? Oh. It feels so empowering, right? The whole world is trying to get us to add something after that. I am this, I am that, I am good, I am bad, I am great, I'm whatever. We can just put a period after I am. Or exclamation point, thank you. 100%. And I just want to encourage everyone to to feel, close their eyes and just feel into the I amness. I am. It's like a declaration to God and the universe. I am present. I am conscious. I am. And that I amness, that was there when you were born as a baby. When you look into a baby's eyes and the glitter, it's just the I am in the baby. The very same I am that was within you when you were a baby. The very same I am that's hearing these words. And the gap in between the words. So, if we take away nothing from our time here together, I just hope we take away some stress and some pressure. And just this word acknowledgement. We're just acknowledging what's already there. And if you try to find the bottom of the ocean of I am, there is no bottom. If you try to find the bottom of the love that is within the I am, there is no bottom to that love. So in a world that is constantly overcomplicating things, this voice just wants to say, let's keep it simple. Let's be simple. I would encourage everyone to close your eyes for a moment. Just acknowledging the awareness. That is the space that holds all thoughts, feelings, and experiences. Acknowledging the consciousness. That is the womb that gives birth to this human experience moment to moment. Now letting that awareness drop down, feeling its way down through your face, to your neck. Be aware of not looking down from your head to your body. Notice what it's like when awareness feels and knows the sensations directly within your body. Perhaps you're feeling your pulse beating. You're feeling the blood flowing. The lungs going big and going small. The feeling of our legs touching the chair. And our feet upon the ground. Let the awareness scan from within your neck to include your shoulders, arms, hands, further expanding the awareness within your chest, upper back and belly, lower back. Just filling every particle with awareness in your body. As if your body itself is a self-aware universe. Allowing the awareness to continue moving downward, including your hips, your waist, your thighs, all from within. And as your awareness moves down the length of your body, notice the release from holding and a deep relaxation. Be aware of the space, awareness, and aliveness within your knees, calves, shins, ankles, feet, toes, the soles of your feet. Feel local awareness knowing and feeling your entire body from within. from the bottoms of your feet to the top of your head. Feel both a soft, boundless quality and a grounded embodiment. Being a conscious being is an embodied state. We're bringing consciousness to the body. Feel your breath happening by itself like waves on the shore of the Lake Tahoe. Enjoy the feeling of the natural, boundless freedom and consciousness fully embodied. Rest in the emptiness. And fullness of embodied presence. Thank you. Thank you so much for the Center for Spiritual Living for having me, and thank you to all the wonderful people who donate to the center to make guest speakers like myself a possibility. Thank you to everyone who felt called to be here today. I hope you work less and just acknowledge more. Thank you.